Right. Okay. A lot to pick through there. The way that Derby collapsed defensively was not good. That had shades of the defensive display against Blackburn, which also wasn't good. Excuse me, I'm just going to take these off so you can't see the reflection. That'll get annoying. It also had shades of the 4-0 against Blackburn at home in late September. That also wasn't a good defensive performance. Now, on that day, Derby looked like they would concede every time they gave the ball away. On this day, they didn't. Tonight, they didn't. But there was just, and you saw it after the first goal. After the first goal, Derby could have gone 2-3-0 down easily inside the next 2 or 3 minutes, and we're lucky to get in at half time at 1-0. I mean, the second goal is just it's so bad. Nathan Byrne has to be stronger in that challenge. Even if you don't win it, you have to be stronger in that challenge. He looks a little weak there. And then because he's come centrally, that means the space is then where he is in his right back position. And you've left Max Bird and Wayne Rooney there. And I think it's Tavernier that just goes in completely unaccounted for because the two midfielders are trying to account for the central guys. Awful defending. The ball gets flashed in. Matt Clark gets his body shape all wrong, but I don't think there's a lot you can really do about that anyway. His clearance has to be better in that instance, but Nathan Byrne has to make a better effort defensively once the ball is up in the air there. It wasn't good. The third goal, Rooney gives the ball away, and then Wisdom pushes up into midfield. Matt Clark's isolated 2v1. You can't really blame him. I'll get to your comments and questions shortly. Lewis Sibley has to start the next football match. Just has to. He was the best. And Morgan Whittaker. I would put Morgan Whittaker in that bracket as well. I felt Morgan should have started this game just because of the influence I felt he had in the Bristol City game where he came on, he did some good things, had a bit of movement, went at his fullback, went inside, outside, and go. Derby's wide players were just awful tonight, picking up what Joe said in the chat. No, this isn't Rooney's fault. You are not bottom just because Wayne Rooney isn't playing well. He is a big part of the problem, but you're not bottom just because Wayne Rooney's playing well. Or someone had to go with me, we're not bottom because Wayne Rooney's not playing well. We're not bottom because Wayne Rooney's not playing well. Tom Lawrence and Kamil Jozwiak were ghosts this evening. They did absolutely nothing. Kamil Jozwiak was probably closer to being sent off than he was creating a chance. He was poor all evening. The first goal, Tom Lawrence has to get that ball out to Jason Knight on the left. I understand because he is programmed as a winger or an inside forward that wants to beat his man. He wants to beat his man and go on the run. But the smart play is just flick that ball out to your left, because even if you overhit that ball, there's no Middlesbrough player out on that side. There's no Middlesbrough player there. So you can... if you overhit that ball, you can afford to, because Jason Knight can recover that for you, and then Martin Wycorn's there as well. But to try and take it on, for me, was an awful decision. Now, don't get me wrong, he was not only at fault for that. Andre Wisdom's header wasn't great. Lee Buchanan drifted from the back post again. That's becoming a little bit of a theme that I am now a tiny bit worried about. Lee has been great. The way he has come up this season from what we saw last season is magnificent, but he is still going to have hiccups, and one of those hiccups, it seems, is he drifts in, he ball watches, he drifts in from the back post, and he has no idea what or who is behind him. That means that another ball can get in, Matt Clark can't get across quick enough, and Britt Assombalonga puts the ball in. 4 mistakes for 1 goal. Dreadful. Absolutely putrid, wretched stuff. But I think now, if this is on merit and it's on competition for places, in my opinion, Lewis Sibley has to start the next game. Morgan Whittaker has to start the next game. Martin Wycorn has picked up a back injury, so not too sure if he'll be fit for Saturday. I felt for him. He was starved of service because his wingers did nothing for him. He was starved of service, felt for him. I wonder if we'll see Colin Kazim-Richards get a start, Jack Stretton, who got on the bench, to get a start, or Jamal Hector-Ingram. I wonder if we might see one of those put in. Again, we'll have to see how Martin Wycorn's injury holds up. Okay, let's get to your question. Oh, sorry, before we get to your questions, nice and positive, Jack Stretton getting on the bench for the first time in the senior squad, remarkable achievement. Top goal scorer in the under-23s, absolutely brilliant achievement. Every time I've watched him, I thought, yeah, there's a player there. There is an absolute player there. My feelings about putting him into this situation, I think I've documented before. I don't think it's fair to ask him to be like, right, there you go and get us the goals to try and get out of this situation. I don't think that's a good environment to put him in. But I understand why you would want to put him in there, because the team has scored 5 goals all season. That's just bad. It's historically bad. No team in the Championship through 13 games has ever scored so few goals. So I understand why people would want to put them in. Let's take it to your questions. Cheers. Let's see. Can we just be relegated now? Come on, man. Let's try and be nice and positive. How do we improve results? Tom Jowett, have I got that right? Jowett. I think first and foremost, the team has to know what they want to do with the football in terms of their wings. So as we saw tonight, at halftime, Lawrence and Jozwiak swapped, and I think that's an admission that Lawrence should have just gone to the left, because that's where Tom Lawrence is best, on the left. So they need to figure out, it's okay figuring out how you're scoring goals, but let's figure out what the service is going to be. Do you want this controlling of Burden and Rooney? Because they're very much of a muchness. Let's be honest now. Wayne Rooney isn't playing too many defence splitting passes right now. And if he's not, then that's an issue, because Max Bird basically does the same job. So you need to figure out what you're doing. Is your delivery coming from the middle, or is it coming from the width? So if you're going to get width, if you're going to get some stuff out wide, you need to get overloads on that side, and then the crosses have to come in. Now, in their defence, earlier in the game, they had numbers in the box. There was one instance where Nathan Byrne didn't get a crossing angle, and then when he did get a crossing angle, only 2 people gambled in the box. Maddening stuff. What is this? So they need to decide what kind of service they want, and they need to decide what kind of run they want. Because if you are going to get crosses in the box, every single time bodies need to be flying into that box all the time. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least decide that is the service that you want. I think secondly, communication is clearly an issue here. I thought Blackburn was a one-off. I really did think Blackburn was a one-off. That performance was an aberration. But it's clear that it wasn't a one-off, and that is a deeply worrying issue. The communication is so bad at the back, and I'm just not sure. I mean, how you fix that is talk more, delegate more. You there, I've got back post. Lee, don't go away from your back post. I'm here. Just all that good stuff. When Nathan Byrne goes centrally to win that header, he needs to know that someone has pushed out wide into that right back spot, be it Bird, Rooney, Wisdom, whoever. Communication needs to happen at that level. And I think we see enough evidence on the pitch to suggest that it isn't. What else have we got? With the venom of Leon's press fundamental changes on Saturday. Yeah, I have listened back to the audio of the presser, Martin. He was not happy. But the problem is right now, every week they're not happy after the game. And eventually, that kind of stuff will fall on deaf ears. He's right. What they're producing right now isn't good enough. But at what point do you have to be? I don't know. At what point does that change? At what point does all of this change? And I feel for Liam. Honestly, I feel for Liam. If Wayne Rooney is co-manager, I believe that he should be doing some of these post-game pressers. If you want that title of manager, that is the responsibility that comes with it. You have to front up with those things. Liam is the one that has had to do those things. And as a co-manager, I don't think that's particularly fair. Are we getting any closer to an appointment? Athansi? I'm so sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I tried my best. In my understanding is no. But these things are fluid, because my understanding was no before they just got hammered 3-0 by Middlesbrough. These things are very, very fluid. I imagine that what will happen is the next manager will be named, and then the day after, the takeover will be announced as complete. My understanding is that the takeover is still going well, and that it is still set for the end of the month. We'd heard that, and I think John Percy had reported initially that it was set for the end of the month. Now, that clock's ticking. Time will tell. We're 5 days out from the end of the month, so we'll find out. But I think as these poor results go on, it highlights the necessity for an immediate change. look, I'd have loved this co-manager thing to have worked out. It was a nice idea in theory. I think Liam's got a really good coach in mind, and I think Wayne is very experienced at what he does. I just don't see the evolution of this team, even in small ways. Even in small ways, I don't see the evolution of this team since Philip Cocu has left, and I'm not sure. And also, some of that is on the players. Tactics and formations, whatever, some of that is on the players. You cannot have passengers at this level. You just can't. And when your two wide players just don't produce, when your captain is losing the ball for the third goal, doesn't really produce, when your guys are weak in the challenge, when they're weak in the tackle, when they don't communicate basic responsibilities, that is on your players. So that is an issue as well. Thomas Lowe, would you drop Rooney? Yeah. In a word, yeah. I did a piece not long ago where I didn't feel as though Wayne Rooney's body of work across 90 minutes warranted a start. Now, don't get me wrong, he has produced the moment of magic that got Derby the goal, that got them the win, but in no way did he win that game for Derby, because that Norwich game was a true team effort. Across the board, it was a true team effort. It's the only time really this season where you've been like, yeah, that's a team playing for each other. That's a team playing for the manager. That's just a team playing for everything associated with Derby County Football Club. That Norwich game was it, and Wayne Rooney decorated that with the brilliant goal. But I don't think his play across 90 minutes has warranted that. The midfield screen that he is meant to be a part of completely disintegrated at times this evening. When he's a 9, he needs someone constantly buzzing around him. And when he's deep, I also think he needs energy around him. In which case, I think the decision, if you're going to play one of Bird, if you're going to play Bird and Rooney, one of them, you basically need Shinnie or Knight or Holmes next to them, because they're not the most mobile. That's the idea of a team. You accentuate your strengths and you hide your weaknesses. Bird and Rooney, great on the ball, very pretty on the ball, but when they get turned, it is ungood news for them and for Derby, because that midfield screen goes, it's gone, it's evaporated, it doesn't exist. That is a problem. I just don't think his play is warranted 90 minutes, to be honest. But it's a dangerous position because he is co-manager. What happens if the coaching staff believe he shouldn't be getting into the team and he thinks he should? What then? And I think that's a dangerous position to have, and it's not one I envy of anyone. Did we pull the trigger too early on Cocu? Tom. Have I got you before, Tom? Anyway, Tom, no, I think it was time to go. I did a piece, and anyone that has read it on The Athletic, read The Athletic, quick plug for work, smashed it. Anyone that has read my piece will know that there were confusion over tactics, there was confusion over selection. People didn't believe Philip was the greatest motivator of people when it came to you're at the bottom of the table, we need something. They didn't think that he was that guy. Really nice guy, but not that guy. Not that guy for the firefight. Not that guy for dragging you out of the relegation zone. All right, Tom, that's your last one, man. I thought Forest game Callum, I'd agree. The Forest game, they were really, really good. But I thought overall as a team, I thought the Norwich game was the pinnacle of like really quality team performance, because it was so good, and they had to be that good to beat Norwich. But no, I agree. The Forest game, they were good. Ryan, unsure if you know. Is there anything in Liam Sterling? Yes, I do know the answer to this. When I got in contact. And I think I wrote this in a piece a while ago. 32 Red categorically said that there is no clause in their deal with Wayne that means he has to play every game. They denied that. They've always denied that. So, yeah, there's that. Do you think Steve McLaren will start to take more control? Good question. I'm not sure. I mean, he's already taken a bit of control because he had a communication line down to Rosenior tonight, was my understanding of that. And I think if you watch the Rams TV feed, Owen Bradley had made that clear as well. Shout out Owen Bradley. Great broadcaster, does an awesome job. I think he'd made that clear as well, that McLaren had a line of communication down to Liam. Now, part of that is good because Steve McLaren, at this level and with Derby, has done good jobs. He's a good manager, an experienced manager. My problem comes that you've got Rosenior, Walker, Given, Rooney, and now McLaren. That's 5 voices. And at some point, 5 voices, it's just mixed messages. It's just not all going in. I just don't know. So, yeah, that to me is part of the problem. Lee Johnson to the end of the season. Part of my problem with that, Callum, and it is a good question. He does play some good football, but his teams do also have a tendency to collapse. And I don't think he's particularly well liked by a lot of Derby fans. Do you know what the contract offer for Chris Martin was? Reports of a paid cut. Who is this now? Dan Hinks. Yes, I do know what the offer was because I exclusively reported it. So the offer was a massive pay cut, which he would have had to have taken because of the financial constraints. It was also my understanding that it was heavily incentivized. It was also my belief that it was a 1-year deal with a club option for his 2nd year. So no incentives like if you score 10 goals or get 5 assists, you'll trigger an option, or if you make 30 appearances. It was, we can just pick up this option if we feel like it. And for Martin, that didn't feel palatable for him. And look at what he got for Bristol City. 2-year deal, option of a 3rd, good money. You can't hate that. You can't hate that. And I believe that there was also that Chris wanted to maybe get a change of scenery as well. Which, if it's a personal decision, if there are personal reasons behind that as well, I don't think whatever offer Derby put in front of him, he was gonna sign it. So if I say Athletic subscriber here after all, so Tom, that's bad. Everyone gang up on Tom. Don't gang up on Tom. We run a family community here. Are you still confident the takeover will actually happen? Yes, I am, Richard. Yes, I am. I can't give you any fresh insight other than they're all very confident it will happen. And what I would say is something good to hold on to here as a couple of things. One is that the takeover does have the EFL green light. And the second thing is, in the statement Derby released upon McLaren's appointment, again, they referenced the new owners and the new board. Now, as a club, you don't reference that unless you still know that takeover is going through. If it's on the rocks, then I imagine the club would just like not mention it because they're like, well, don't mention it, out of sight, out of mind kind of way. But also, if you put that out there and then as a club you have to say, oh, the deal's been scrapped, whatever, it makes you look silly. So I don't think they put that out there unless they again were very confident as a club that was the right direction that they were going. Who is your ideal Derby manager? My ideal Derby manager is Rafa Benitez. Now, that is a long shot, and particularly with the salary cap coming in, because if you're paying Rafa Benitez 12 million or whatever, 8 million a year, whatever it is, well, say goodbye to all your wages on players. But look, if you're after a manager like Pochettino, Pochettino would be great. Look, I think Rafa is the most realistic, unrealistic guy, if that makes sense. Like, if he wants the job and the owners could stretch financially and he wants to come back to England, which I think is the case, he does want to come back to England, shoot for the stars. That would be my... If not, Eddie Howe, Paul Cook, I'm big fans of. Steve Cooper's a name that's been mentioned. Paul Cook, I'm a big fan of. Yeah, Steve Cook is a name that has been mentioned. But with Steve Cooper, I just wonder in terms of when things get bad and rough. But he's a great coach, great coach, would improve a lot of players. Will there be 5 more changes for Wickham? For me, one change has to be made, and that is Louis Sibley has to start. For me, another change has to be made, and that's Wayne Rooney has to go to the bench for Graham Shinney or Dwayne Holmes. I would probably dip Tom Lawrence out of the team as well and play Morgan Whittaker. I'm not sure if making so many changes is wise, but I mean, look, you can't just have guys just not put it up there. I'd also bring Curtis Davis back in, and I'd probably drop Nathan Byrne after that performance. No, that's not personal. Anyone that's followed me on Twitter will know that I think Nathan has been great this season, absolutely great this season. But he was not good tonight, in my opinion. Had good moments, but overall wasn't good. And maybe put Andre at right back and bring Curtis Davis in. We're gonna wrap up because we're getting towards 20 minutes here. So I'll take 2 more questions. I know he's a wanker, but Gary Monk. Um, I wouldn't be so hot on that, and it's nothing personal. I think Monk plays 4-4-2 quite a lot of the time. He's chopped and changed a little bit, but I don't think he's someone that I would want. Gerson in January. Right now, I think they probably will go back in for him. My understanding was always that they were going to go back in for him in January and at a very cut price deal because his contract is done. My understanding was that he has remained in contact with Derby pretty much throughout when the window closed. Now, if the new owners come in and they've got loads of money and think, well, we'll just go and get another guy who is more expensive than we can afford, then yeah, fair enough. But as of this moment, while Mel Morris is still owner of Derby County Football Club, yes, the idea is to still go back in for Durst in January. David Marshall, appreciate an article, I swear has been in the pipeline for ages, but this football club refuses to be normal for 5 days and just let me try and get that out. Every time I get somewhere with it, something mad happens, and I have to end up pivoting. FFP. I don't have time to get into that now, Ed, but the simple answer is yes, but with a caveat, because the way that shares and money that you put into the club dictates, it means you do get a little bit of wiggle room and flexibility with it. But I'll answer that. Maybe my colleague Matt Slater would answer that in a piece when the takeover happens and we learn how much money they actually have. Look, guys, tonight, absolutely. It fucking sucked. There. I didn't want to swear, but you made me say it. It absolutely sucked. It fucking sucked. But look, go be with your loved ones. If the Christmas tree isn't up yet, then go and get that thing up, man. We ain't going nowhere. It's all miserable outside. Our team sucks. Our government sucks. I suck. You don't suck. You're all lovely. And look, let's chat again Saturday after the Wycombe game. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Love you.